afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. The nation's biggest annual food drive is this Saturday. It's expected that more than 100 million pounds of food will be collected. The National Association of Letter Carriers is doing all the work. They'll be collecting food donations from homes as they deliver mail along their postal routes. It is the 23rd straight year that letter carriers have organized the Stamp Out Hunger food drive in all 50 states. To find out more about what's happening in Vermont, we've called on two guests. Jill Charbonneau served Middlebury residents as a letter carrier for more than 25 years, and she's served as a local coordinator of the Stamp Out Hunger food drive since it began in 1992. And Kate McGowan is the executive director of the United Way of Addison County. I want to thank you both so much for coming in. Jill, tell me a little bit about what's happening this Saturday.
Well, this Saturday is the annual Stamp Out Hunger food drive, which we just said, and letter carriers around the state will be picking up food donations, and we liked something that is in a box or a can, or we don't take glass and stuff like bread or something like that, just
so non-perishable food items in cans or boxes, nothing that can break.
Yep.
And so how can people participate?
Well, you'll know if you're participating if your letter carrier leaves you a postcard. However, unfortunately, we had a change in national sponsors, and we do not have the postcard volume that we have had in the past. So you may be participating and not get a postcard. The easiest way to tell is to call your local postmaster. And if your letter carrier has participated in the past, it's a good assumption that they will be participating this year as well.
And so who receives these donations and how are they distributed?
They go to local food shelves. In Addison County, we have two primary food shelves. One is with Hope and the other one is with CVOEO, Champlain Valley Economic
Office of Economic Opportunity.
Office of Economic Opportunity.
Say that three times fast.
So Kate, tell us a little bit about hunger and food insecurity in Vermont.
So I think it's on the rise. It's a really serious issue for many of our households. It's estimated that 1 in 5 of our kids in our communities are in households experiencing food insecurity. There's an estimate that 14% of Vermonters are struggling with getting enough calories and enough nutrition into their food intake each day. It's pretty serious. I think that's a high number, and we should all be concerned because this is affecting, our neighbors, our coworkers, our kids, and our family members. So,
are people surprised to hear those numbers?
I think they are. I think that we often can ignore. I think the face of poverty and close to poverty is often hidden in our state, and it's easy to overlook. But it's very real, and the families who are experiencing this, I think, are experiencing it at a higher degree given the current economics that are going on.
Well, in addition to food and hunger issues, what are some of the needs of Addison County residents, and how is United Way working on those needs?
Well, I think it's interesting to think about why are United Ways across the country supporting this and have supported this food drive over the years. And when we look at our work, we're looking at health, education, and financial stability. And when I think about food and hunger and food security, I think that we can give a nod to saying that affects each of these areas, that there's a clear implication for getting enough food in a family budget that impacts their financial stability. Can you pay for your housing? Can you pay for your health care? And can you figure out a way to jerry-rig that kind of food budget in? But we also know that food insecurity impacts educational outcomes and health outcomes. So across the country, United Ways are looking at this, and those needs are the same across the country, and they are also in Addison County.
It's interesting. People usually think about contributing to their food shelf during the holidays, but actually summertime is a particular time of need for a lot of families because the kids are out of school. Jill, tell us once again how people can help with the National Letter Carrier Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Saturday, May 9th.
So, in Vermont, we have collected last year 156,515 pounds of food by postal customers. Simply putting some canned goods in a bag is great out by their mailbox, and the letter carrier bringing it back to the post office and distributing it to the local food shelves. It's very simple. We love the fact that it's an easy way for our community to support itself, and we are grateful for the contributions of our postal patrons.
It's okay even if you have just one can or two cans to give.
One can. Some people have a couple of bags out. Everything is great and greatly appreciated. We appreciate anybody's contribution.
And if people have questions, what should they do?
Simply call your local post office. It's the easiest way to address what, many of these post offices have their own little twist to the program, but it's essentially the same thing. You leave a can of food out by your mailbox, the letter carrier will pick it up and it will get to the food shelf.
Mm-hmm. And also maybe, Kate, once again, you can just tell folks how important that this kind of thing is for communities across the state.
And as you say, hunger doesn't just happen at the holidays. I think we're a food-oriented culture, and it's really terrific that people support folks and want them to have really nutritious holidays. But the reality is hunger happens year-round. And when we're talking 14% of Vermonters are hungry, it really will be great if everybody participates to make a difference.
And it's easy.
It's easy. Put your can out by your mailbox, the letter carrier will pick it up, and we thank you very much.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming in and talking about this important topic, and also letting our viewers know about Stamp Out Hunger. The food drive is this Saturday, May 9th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, students from across Vermont recently competed in the First Tech Challenge at UVM. First Tech involves teams of students who are responsible for designing, building, and programming their own robots to compete against other teams. The goal is to inspire young people to become interested in science and technology. There was plenty of inspiration at the Vermont event, where a team of 4-H youngsters took part for the very first time.
We have a general interest 4-H club called the Champlain Shamrocks, and we meet in South Hero. We do science things and engineering. This is a subgroup of our 4-H club. So this is the Aluminum Avian Antics. They're the robotics subgroup.
Vermonters, let me speak to you for a minute. I hope that you feel right at home here at the University of Vermont and here in the Davis Center, because this is your university.
They wanted to learn about robotics, and so through their learning about robotics, they became interested in this competition. And this is the first time that I believe we've had a Vermont 4-H club participate. A nice thing is there's a lot of teams here, but they're all very supportive of each other. They're willing to share ideas, and if there's a problem with one team, someone from another team seems really ready to go and assist. So as much as it's a competition, it's really a friendly competition.
So the first teams that are going to be competing are 8221, 8462.
We're just competing with our robot and trying to just see what it's about, because it's our first year and we have been building the robot all year long and working on the software and the programming, and so this is our big day that we've been looking forward to since September.
You get a challenge, and then you can buy a kit, and then you get to decide what pieces you want. Say I want a linear slide, I know I want linear slide pieces and rack and pinion pieces, like that.
How do you build a robot?
Well, it's simple because it's all with Allen wrenches and all the pieces screw together. So it started out as an 8 shape, and then we added pieces on, and then we started customizing it, so we kept shrinking it.
Then we have to make the robot and we have to figure out what we want it to do, and we also have to figure out, we had to learn our programming language LabVIEW. None of us had ever done it before, so we had to learn that. We also had to learn how to build the actual robot most efficiently.
So what does the robot do?
We have 2 modes, autonomous, which is pre-programmed, and teleop, which is remote control. In autonomous, we have 2 programs, one to go off the ramp and just stop, and then another one to go out, grab the small goal, score in it, and then come back. And then in teleop, or remote control, we have different buttons that are while pushing them or while we just press them to do different things, like let the trailer hitch down, bring the attachment up and down, open the door, that kind of thing.
All right.
They all wanted to learn to build, they all wanted to learn to program, they all wanted to learn to run it. So everybody got to learn. They took some online tutorials for the programming language which they use, which is LabVIEW. And we had a lot of evolution to our robot. It started very different, and it's just kind of progressed throughout the season.
We didn't even know anything, but now we know how to build robots, program in LabVIEW, and we even learned how to drive them.
Of course, the robotics bit perfectly under the, the science, engineering, mathematics, which there's a push for more scientists and more people in those fields, but it's also a way for them to learn that science and engineering and math in a really fun kind of way.
They're not all considering careers in engineering per se, but since they're interested in agriculture, this has really opened their eyes up to how robotics is used in agriculture, and they've really noticed that robotics is applicable to a whole lot of fields, not just a technology field.
I can't wait for knowing that robots take a lot of work, a lot of effort. It takes a lot to get them going, but once they get going, you can do a lot with them.
The Aluminum Avian Antics team did not win the overall competition, but they did receive a first-place award for the best teamwork. Congratulations to all the team members. In the short time we have remaining, we are going to join UVM Extension horticulturalist Leonard Perry in the greenhouse.
Well, here in Extension, we're fortunate to often get the opportunity to meet with authors of books, and we have one today, actually a friend of mine, Carrie Mendez, who's here. Thanks so much, Carrie, for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you. I love it.
And what I'd like to look at here is your book. I know you've had it out a little bit, but top 10 lists for beautiful shade gardens. I know a lot of people have a yard with a lot of shade. When they were built, they put in the trees too big or too small, too close, and then they grew up and now they've got shade. So how do people deal with that? What do you recommend in here?
I think most people feel that, they've been dealt a bad card if they land in the shade. There's only hosta and impatience. I wanted to show people there's so many cool plants, perennial shrubs, climbing vines, annuals that we can use in shade. And I think the beauty of a shade garden far outweighs any sun-loving garden. And shade gardens are typically so much less work than gardening for sun gardens. So I say go plant a tree and celebrate the shade.
Well, that is an awesome approach, and it must be a lot. It says here 52 lists. You must divide that up by different types of shade. How do you divide those lists up?
I have different categories by plant material, like shrubs, climbing vines, evergreens, perennials, bulbs. But one of the categories that a lot of people are interested in is what plants do well in dry shade, because a lot of times you do have that root competition. And there are a lot of cool plants that can duke it out with the roots of trees and shrubs. One of my favorites is a perennial commonly called barrenwort, epimedium. Yep. That's a great ground cover with beautiful spring flowers, lovely foliage, and even better, the foliage keeps grass and weeds from seeding in with those overlapping leaves.
And so that's one that I started planting, and there's so many new ones out now that do great in shade that are hardy up here too, which I didn't realize, and that's one of my favorites. So that's a great one in here.
Now, your zone here, again, I'm from Kennebunk, Maine now.
Okay,
so, yeah.
And well, in Vermont, we, like a lot of places, straddle line usually hardiness zones, which a lot of people probably know USDA has a map, and you can check on that map online or with garden centers, what their zone is, but it's basically about 5, which is warmer, to 3, which is cold. So in our northeast kingdom or in the mountains, that kind of thing. So, and I guess your book is adapted to the colder climates, like ours.
Really, I specialize, because I lived in upstate New York for many years and now Maine. Most of the plants in this book are for zones 3 through 5. Because that's what I've been gardening in for 30 years.
So really the colder ones around here would be great for
Tough
Vermont and
plants.
this whole region, of the country. Another thing I really like about this, your list, you have top 10. So I know a lot of times these lists go on and on, you have no clue, but you've really narrowed it down to top plants in each of these categories.
Cut to the chase. We don't have a lot of time. We want good information, easy to understand, and available to buy at our independent garden centers. And that's what I try to give people. Reliable list of plants we can buy at garden centers.
Well, that's good too, because a lot of times you see these and you go there and they have no clue, or you can't get them. So
I don't remember the last time I ordered mail order. I really believe in buying local and independent garden
we've got
centers.
a lot of great ones around here to buy from. So hopefully people can get good ideas. And thank you so much for writing this and sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today on Across the Fence. For University of Vermont Extension, I'm Leonard Perry.
Well, thank you, Leonard, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.